Deep underneath the Liverpool streets lies a fascinating subterranean secret. There is a sprawling labyrinth of man-made tunnels and passageways networked with huge grand chambers the size of cathedrals, and no one knows their true purpose. Some suggest they are connected with secret commercial mining. Some maintain that they are a product of one of the biggest and long-lasting philanthropic projects ever undertaken. There are even theories that point to the tunnels being created as refuge from a long-awaited Armageddon under the orders of the Church. One thing can be certain: they represented the life's work of one man, Joseph Williamson. Williamson was known locally under two unofficial titles: the King of Edge Hill and the Mole of Edge Hill, for reasons that are about to become quite clear. He was born in 1769 and made his name and fortune in the city of Liverpool through a career in the tobacco trade. Liverpool in the 18th and 19th centuries was considered by many to be the richest city in the world. As one of the premier ports for the British Empire, it gave rise to a new and colossal wealth for the canny businessmen that operated there. Joseph Williamson also married into the family of landowners to expand his overall wealth and influence even further. He was known as quite an eccentric character, secretive and private by nature, with a passion for engineering and construction. By 1805, Williamson had made his fortune and began to construct houses in the Edge Hill area of Liverpool. At the time, Edge Hill was on the outskirts of the city and still retained some more pastoral and rural charm. Perfect for those rich enough to want a place near the city without the smoke and hustle of the centre. It was underneath his very own house on Mason Street here that he began to construct the tunnels. Initially, it was assumed that these tunnels were built to support the large landscaped gardens and orchards of the houses that were very much the fashion of the day. However, very quickly the tunnels went further and deeper. Dozens of tunnels quickly began to appear underneath this well-regarded and sparsely populated part of Liverpool, all under the command and watchful eye of the mysterious Williamson. Small passageways led to enormous chambers, with some sections reaching a staggering 21 meters below the surface. They stretched for miles and miles underneath the unassuming mansions of wealthy landowners on the streets above. Vaulted chambers over 6 meters high and 25 feet wide were dug into sandstone bedrock with pickaxes and shovels through slow, energy-sapping and time-consuming labor. No machinery was used, with wheelbarrows, ropes and pulleys taking away the rubble before more skilled craftsmen entered the network. These men would then work to Williamson's own plans, carving and shaping the huge tunnels and chambers with hammers and chisels before reinforcing their creations with hundreds of thousands of bricks. The Banqueting Hall, one of the most mysterious additions, was a chamber constructed beneath where Mason Street and Smithdown Lane intersect. With a vast vaulted ceiling, it mimics the grand Gothic style of architecture more commonly used for cathedrals or municipal assembly buildings. All exquisitely dug underground, in secret. The Banqueting Hall was only uncovered properly in 1999 by a group of volunteers that spent time excavating tons of rubble to discover an enigma that lay untouched for over a century. There were some breathtaking complexities as part of the network too, such as the now famous double tunnel. 2 parallel tunnels stacked directly on top of each other with a combined height of 12 meters was a sophisticated engineering project that would have taken months of careful planning and expert execution. Work is still ongoing to excavate the entire network, with hundreds more chambers and tunnels thought to be still hidden, with secrets to share. But what was it all for? Finding clues proves difficult. As the tunnels were a private endeavor, there is scant opportunity to find details of their purpose. However, history may suggest a few theories. At the time of the tunnel's construction, Liverpool was undergoing some huge changes for its workforce. The end of the Napoleonic Wars in 1815 saw many men return home without jobs to go to. Amongst them were the injured and battle-scarred that would struggle to find gainful employment. This post-war economic downturn was soon compounded by more upheaval. As the Industrial Revolution rolled in, many of the old labor-intensive jobs were made redundant by new machinery, leaving an even bigger pool of laborers jobless, unable to support their families, and without the dignity of a profession to call their own. The philosopher and social commentator Thomas Carlyle wrote at the time, "A man willing to work and unable to find work is perhaps the saddest sight that fortune's inequality exhibits under this sun." Many people believe the whole undertaking was Williamson's own way of providing these men with gainful employment, a wage, and a purpose. His strong associations with the Christian Church at the time was one of the few parts of his life that the public saw. It's said that the virtues of charity, philanthropy, and hard work were always strong motivations for his faith. Could it be that Williamson's folly was a grand plan to bring dignity back to the returning soldiers and unemployed of Liverpool? The constructions themselves may offer insight here. There is definitely evidence of tunnels being dug only to be bricked up again, and chambers that led nowhere with no purpose. Stories from the time suggest that this may be make work, jobs provided for unskilled laborers to free them from social isolation, unemployment, and poverty, giving them vital experience and money in their pockets. Or could the truth perhaps be a little more sinister? There is also strong speculation that Williamson held connections with the millenarian extremists in the church. They believed that the second coming of Christ was imminent and were asking followers to prepare for the apocalypse. The tunnels may have been created as the perfect refuge for these frantically rumored cataclysmic events. Williamson would have had the opportunity to take his family, friends, and many others below. The millenarians believed it was their duty to rebuild the world in the aftermath. Could the tunnels have been the foundations of a new society led by Williamson and his followers? With the entire project beginning under his house, was he to be a central figure for society when people returned to the surface? The artifacts uncovered in the tunnels show clear levels of domesticity catered for, with plates, bottles, cutlery, and even children's toys all found under the rubble. Everything was set for the tunnels to be a safe haven. After the death of his wife in 1822, Joseph Williamson focused all of his efforts underground. Rarely coming to the surface, he chose to live, plan, and sleep in the vast warrens that he had funded. This became his only love. Hundreds of workers were now down there too, all well paid with a mix of skilled and unskilled labor. An entire infrastructure and administration department of counters and salary distributors were made up from injured soldiers that could no longer perform manual labor, and the total cost is thought to be as much as £18 million in today's terms, all with no financial return, or a clear and classified purpose. Suggestions that this was a clandestine quarry to sell the relatively valuable sandstone in secret are difficult to prove. Without accounts to refer to, and absolutely no record of sales attributed to the tunnels, this theory would mean a series of shadowy sales would have to have been carried out. Could there be buildings across the city of Liverpool, or even the country, that utilized this secret resource? The digging and tunneling continued for a staggering 35 years, until the 1st of May 1840, when Joseph Williamson passed away at the age of 71. The pickaxes and shovels were put down immediately, and the whole project was completely abandoned. The entire network was neglected. As the Edge Hill area grew over the next 2 centuries, the tunnels were filled with debris and household waste. Many of the local residents and businesses used them as a refuse dump, unaware of what had gone before. The tunnels and their creator's legacy only really came to light at the turn of the century as they were carefully excavated. Plans to preserve them and explore the network for clues into the mystery look set to continue for many years. The city that has now been built above them may not have been the result of an apocalypse, but it certainly looks a lot different to when Joseph started his work underground. Other caverns in Liverpool became much more famous, and a lot of the area was demolished, including the church where Williamson was buried. In a twist of irony that the mole of Edge Hill would probably have loved, his own grave lay hidden and buried for almost a century, until after 10 years of searching in 2005, it was finally uncovered beneath a car park in the city. A little mystery had been solved. But the greatest mystery of his life's work remains. We may never really know what drove the king of Edge Hill to create an underground kingdom for almost 40 years without telling a soul what they were really for. Perhaps that secret may remain buried underneath these unassuming streets forever.
Remember to hit the subscribe button and ring that bell to stay updated with our latest content. And while you're here, why not check out another one of our exciting videos? Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.